Hey guys, welcome to day 55 part 2 of the devlog, and tonight we are going to start off by updating more of our string tables. Now the thing we're going to do next is we have this widget with these 5 items in it, so we're going to add these to our string table. Okay, now the best idea here would be to split this off. Okay, and we don't have fuel, so we are going to add that. Okay, so if we go back to our sort tooltip, right, we can basically add these, copy that, paste that, add a space, add, you can say food, drink. Hi, a PG Vermal. I shall show you in a second, if you don't mind. We can say food and drink. Just let me add these values to our string table here. Tools, and finally fuel and fuel. Okay, so that's not good. No worries, mate. That's kind of to sub. Okay. So this is not an ideal bit of code. Right. But what we could do is we could switch on int and I'm pretty sure this is an int. It's an integer. Add a pen, add a pen, add a pen, add a pen, add a pen. Okay. So let me just finish this off. We don't want to do this. Alright, so this st main, right, and we can copy that and that and that. In fact, you know what we could do here? We could actually use this to our advantage, right? We could say food, food, drink, tools, and fuel, right? And that's the actual keys. Okay. So what we can do now is do that, plug that in there, and then plug that directly into there. Delete that. Okay. And that should work for us. Let me know if you're still there. PG Vernal. And then I'll show you. If not, I shall just basically carry on with what I'm doing. So now the thing that we've got to do is, or at least one of the last things we've got to do, is the actual tooltip. Okay, so we're going to go back to the inventory, or inventory, depending on how you like to pronounce your thing. And we're going to open up our item tooltip. We're going to drag this off to the side. Okay. And we're going to see what we've got here. Right, so we've got item. And we already have one called item, so we can swap this to item. We have got a weight, right, but it's not the weight we want. So we're going to call this weight no colon, right, and that's just going to be weight. So we change that to weight no colon, and then we're going to have a description. Now, do we have a description? Apparently not. Description. We can copy that, paste it in there, and add it. Okay. And this now becomes st-main description. And that's that done. Compile that. Right. And drag this back in here. Or maybe not. Drag it in there. Ah, god damn it. Right, there. Okay. So that's good. We've got that done. Now, do we have anything else? Well, not really. That's that one. So that's cool. Okay. So, in theory, if we go over here, pick that up, go to our inventory. Yep, that's all working nicely. Haven't got an exit though. That's working. That's all working. And there we go. That's working, that's working. Okay. So we need to do something with this though. And that's going a bit weird. But anyway. Right. So what we're going to need here is the item weight. And we're probably going to need the item type. Right, because this is a food. This is going to be a fuel. Okay. But it is working, right? If we go to fuel, it gives us fuel. We go to all, food and drink, there's a food, there's a fuel. Our total carry is working, everything's working. We can click on our log, loggy log, click on our food, foodie food. There's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's beginning to do that now. Let me see. We'll worry about that later. It is working. Little tweaks like that can wait. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need, right, let me show you, okay? At 10 o'clock, our monsters will disappear, okay? There we go. Right. Now, what we funnily enough don't want it to do is for the monsters to disappear. If they can see the player, or the player can see them. Okay, so we're going to write a pretty similar bit of code to what we've done in our spawn as we're going to do in our despawn. Okay, so we're going to get our monster, which is this one. Right, and you will notice that we are bound to an event here, right? But what we're going to do is not actually do that in this particular part. What we're going to do is we're going to event, this is a dispatcher, right? But what we're going to do is move this to the base monster. Then we'll create an interface, and it's going to be, this event dispatcher is going to be called, and then it's going to fire the interface. Okay? So what we're going to do, first of all, right, is we're going to create a blueprint interface. So we're going to call it BPI underscore monster, right? And then we're going to move it to the right place, which is there. Okay, so we've got our base monster, we've got our BPI monster, right? And then what we're going to do is add a new function, and it's going to be destroy self. Okay, we're going to save that. Then we're going to open this, right? And we're going to keep our event begin play, right? Because we want to want to bind our previous thing. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our class settings. Then we're going to say BPI monster, and I believe what we'll do is we'll add any interfaces that this one has, right? So it's got EMS, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this, okay? We're going to go back to our base monster, we're going to paste it in here, once it gets its act together, that is, right, there we go. We're going to save that, right, but we're not going to do this, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to call the event destroy self, right? We're going to do the destroy self, but we want it to be the message. So it's this one, okay? Then we're going to get a reference to self. Turn context back on. we're going to do that. We're going to save that. Right, the final thing we do here is we're going to add EMS, which is easy multi-save. For those who don't know in the chat, that is the save system we're using. Okay, so that should get translated down to this. Right, so we're not going to have this anymore. What we're actually going to do is have event destroy self. Okay. Now, the interesting thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to do the we'll do the line trace in our actual in our base monster. So we're going to do line trace to player. Okay. And we're going to click on it and we're going to do an output hit player. Okay. We're going to do it as a pure. Then we are going to have a look at our event manager. Okay, because the event manager has got the code for this. Right, or let's say it's got part of the code. Right, it's basically this code here. Right, so we can basically grab this. Hi Stormrun Gaming, how are you, mate? We're not going to do that. So that's going to be copy that. We go into the base monster. We paste that. Okay. Now we haven't got, or do we? We haven't got this, right? So we're going to have to say get player pawn. Which is fine. Okay. And self actor location. Okay, so we plug that in there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a persistent for now to see where these go. Okay. Now, if it's not valid, right, so we're going to do two return nodes. If it is valid, then we've not hit the player. If it's not valid, we have hit the player. Okay. So let's see how that goes, shall we? And that'll be the fastest bit of complicated code we've done in a while. Right, so we can now go back to our monster and we are basically going to do a branch. Right, and our condition is going to be line trace to player, line trace to player. So if it hits the player, we destroy the actor. If we hit the player, we don't, because the player can directly see you. Okay. So we should be able to test this now. I'm going to do a save all as per normal. Get a drink of my orange. That'll be good. Right, and at 10 o'clock we should see some line traces. Okay, there we go. We don't need to add so much. Okay. If we add, this is going to come to the center, so I'm just going to add 32. For this one, we can add, worry about adding like a half height capsule and stuff like that. We'll just test it with that number there. Right. So there we go. And those don't disappear because they hit the player, which is, the logic is correct. Do it like that. Okay. So what I need to do now is basically run around the corner, if I can. Right. So you'll notice that a couple of them have disappeared and a couple haven't. The greens disappeared, the reds did not, because they actually hit me. Okay. So that worked exactly as we wanted it to. Right, so we'll run quick, run quick. Quick, 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 quick. Right, none of these should see me, there we go. Right, all green. No monsters. Right. That's a different monster, by the way. We're not including that in the logic. So there we go. Our despawn is deciding whether or not we actually despawn. And that works a little treat. So, none. Compile. File. Save all. Okie dokie. going well. Right, so the question is, what to work on next? Right. Okay, so that is actually a good question. What to work on next? How are you getting on, Storm Run? How's your development going? Right. Now, what I want to work on okay. We're cool with that. But what we want to do now is we want to either trigger it or not. Right? Depending on what we hit. Okay, so we need to work out again. We did work on this a little bit before, but got all confused because of the camera, so we stopped for a while. But it is in the pawn, right? So we're going to have a look at the pawn. Okay. We're going to get back to our aiming, which is over here, right? So this basically gives us our aiming. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out the way. Right. And our other code is probably going to have to go in here. This is where we spawn the arrow. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is whether we actually do this part or not. Okay. Now, what we need is predict this. Okay. Now, the interesting thing, or the thing that I find interesting here, right, is how does it do it if it doesn't know the rotation, right? If it doesn't know the rotation, how does it know the launch velocity? Well, we know the launch velocity, right, is 10,000, okay? And we know that that is the location, right? So I can do a reroute on that, right? Then we can drag this out. So we know that that is the location. Now, what we should really do is do this first, right? We'll move this back. We'll call it a radius of 1. Okay, and we'll say debug persistent, just to get a good look at it. And we're going to out hit break hit result, right? And then we're just going to print out the actor name. So we're going to do print string okay. And then we're going to plug this in here. Okay, and then we'll basically test it. We are going to need to change that to, like, let's say 20 seconds. Save that. And then test it. Okay. And now, 1, 2, 3. And kablami. And we hit the landscape somehow. Let's shoot at this. Now, where is our line? Back there. So it's basically $180. Okay, now we do know that. Okay. That's fine. Right, so we're going to add a vector. Right, that's going to go there. Hey Tarkov Mike, how you doing, bud? Hope you are well. That's going to go there. That's going to go away. That's going to go to there. That's going to go 180. Okay. Okay, so we hit ourselves, which is awesome. Okay. Play. And kablami. Now, what did we hit? What are we hitting? Oh, I'm an idiot. No, I'm not. I mean, that seems to be the value. Is it not on the X? Is it minus 180? Right, whatever it is, we should be hitting this target. Okay. Where is our little green thing? Did we hit the landscape again? Apparently we did. Right, okay. Okay. We'll delete that. We're going to make a vector. Right. What are you saying to it tonight, Tarkov Mike? We're going to break that vector. Right. I'm going to add let's do it this way. Wait a minute. I might have had that right. It should be visibility. I probably had that right, guys. Right, we do need to do it the other way around, right? And that's why it wasn't hitting this. Right, it was just going straight through it. Because that's not a world dynamic, so that's why it was doing that, I believe. Where is it? Did that go behind us? Where is our trace? It's going through everything by the looks of it. Okay. So let's go for world static. Okay. Press play. Try this again. It's always to do with the wrong collision or something in Unreal when I'm doing stuff like this. It's never the logic. It's always something slightly weird. Right, so we hit the ground again. Don't know what's going on. Are we hitting ourselves again? Right, where did that go? I've got no idea where that went. Okay, let's try something else. What we're going to do is I'm going to line. Ah, no, it's prediction, isn't it? Predict by object type. Okay. Object types. Make array. I'm going to go for world static, world dynamic. What was the last one? Interactive, I suppose. Actors to ignore, self, projectile radius 1, start position that, launch velocity 10,000. And this is going to go in here. Let's see if that does anything for us. Still hitting the landscape. It's still hitting the landscape and I don't know where. Okay, and that's because it's not big enough. So what I should do is make the radius bigger, right? So we'll go for 5. And we didn't tell it to do that. Right. Draw debug time. For duration. Right, persistent. Override gravity, no. Okay. Right, I think we're going to have to spawn something where it hits. Right, so that we can see what the heck where it's hitting. Oh. It's up there somewhere. Yeah, look at that. Now, that actually makes sense. Right, okay, I know what the issue here is. Right, I think. And that ain't it. Right, now what we need to do here is get the rotation get the forward vector right, then I think what we need to do is multiply it. Okay. By the float. Right, and then we do that. Then we do that. So we launch it on the forward vector. This is day 55, I believe. JD, the casual one. Thank you for the question. Right, so we're going to try this again. Now, this is the one where it might be off by 180 on the Z, right? But we're going to try it anyway, right? And this might go completely bonkers. Okay, I'm a freaking genius. Whoa, there we go. Rock and roll. Okay. So that does what we want it to do, right? But the issue here is that's fine. Yep, I'm liking that. Okay, so what we need to do is find out what we hit. Okay. And then if we hit something that we want to see, like for example wildlife, right, we do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go into wildlife, and we've got a base wildlife, right? We're going to go into our actor, right, and we're going to add a tag, right, and it's going to be called wildlife. Okay, and then this is our first rule of thumb here, right? So back to our pawn, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this actor, and we're going to say has actually, you know what we'll do? We'll change this out, alright? We'll say BP get wildlife, right? And we'll add what did we call this again? What did we call this? Arrow cam. We called it arrow cam, right? So we'll call it arrow cam. So if the monster, oh thank you Feed Podcast, if that was you, that's very kind of you, I appreciate it. So we're going for arrow cam, right? And if it's got arrow cam, right, so we say can't remember what we're going to say, hashtag, right? So if it has the tag arrow cam, then we're going to show the arrow cam. Okay, so in theory we're going to branch here, and if this is true, we're going to do that and that, and then we'll test it here. Okay, so when you shoot, and we should not get an arrow cam. We might get some errors which we'll need to fix. Ah, not so good. A interesting concept there. Now, we can hit that okay, and that, but the problem is, oh, we hit that time. It looks like it just depends on where I'm aiming. Okay, right. Yeah, something weird. Yeah, we're getting these errors. Now, I kind of thought that, but we can fix that, right? So what we want to do, we'll dismiss this for now. We knew we needed to do a bit of work on this, so don't worry guys, I'm not worried. When I was changing this all up. So what I'm saying is, we need to find out what we hit before we hit it, okay? Yeah, we know screen apple, there's weird stuff going on with that, but we're going to take care of it, right? Not something I'm worried about in the slightest right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop in one of our wildlife. Okay. And then we're going to shoot that. Right. Now, interestingly, it did not work, basically. Now, I never set it up correctly either, but that shouldn't actually make too much of a difference right now. That's not my problem for this, right? My problem with this is whether or not it has the tag. Right, so I'm going to type in tag. Yeah, it does have arrow cam. Except, did I actually test for arrow cam? Or did I leave it at wildlife? No, I've got arrow cam. So in theory that should have actually went to here and did its usual stuff, right? Okay, there is our branch. False. What? We hit the fire. You what? So this is not hitting. Okay, let's add the pawn. I don't think it's a pawn. Might be considered a pawn, I suppose. Right? False. We'll resume that, right? Now, I have absolutely zero idea what that actually hit there. Right? But it wasn't a sodden fire, I can tell you that. Now, the question is there a fire behind the target? And there isn't even a fire behind the target. Right, so we know that the arrow goes there, right? So the arrow's going in the right place, but it's not hitting the right things. Okay. Right. We can see quite clearly, right, that it's hitting the right things. Right, but the arrow hit it, right, and killed it, which is exactly what we wanted. Right? But our trace does not, or our projected trace. Don't worry about this stuff, I'll fix that once we actually get this to hit a bloody deer. Right, so I've got no idea why this refuses. Right, that's what we want to do. .005. Okay, whatever. Okay, I'm going to go and have a break, guys, for 5 minutes. Have a cigarette. I shall be back in 5. If you're enjoying the stream, then hit like and subscribe and check out the description for links to the Discord for Groenland, and also for my personal Discord and Patreon and my previous game on Steam, which is available for $1. I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. Okay, folks, we are back. And what is this hitting when I shoot this? That's the question. Right? We are doing our print screen, right? So that's okay. So let's have a look what we're hitting. Now I suggest that what we're hitting is the ground. If we resume that, we're actually hitting that fire, believe it or not. Right, so it isn't hitting the deer. That's the fundamental issue here. Okay? We can forget everything else. Right? It is not hitting the deer. So we're going to have a look at our deer and find out why it's not hitting the deer. Give me 1 second, guys, just grabbing a drink. Okay, so let's do line. Nope, we're not doing that. We're doing prediction advanced. Okay, let's see what this is. We're doing a trace channel, right? Now, actually, we could do this with the camera, and that'll probably hit it. Okay. And we can plug this in here. We can drag this up a bit. Right. Drag out a bit. This is when making the widget sizes bigger for you guys becomes a problem for me when I'm trying to do this. Right, so we're just going to say persistent there. We're going to change that to 5. Okay. And then this is going to get plugged into here. Ooh. Right, so I'm guessing this is going to be, I'm going to get a hit result on this, which I am. Okay. And then this is going to go here. And I'm going to have to zoom out just a tad to get this. Ooh. Yep. Not good. Drag that into there. And try that. Okay. Hi, Animal Shorts. Absolute zero. What? It depends what you mean. What do you mean by background? Do you mean actual training, or do you mean something else by that? And I shall answer as best I can. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to fire again at our thing. And what did we hit? Apparently nothing. Again. Which is awesome. Obviously. Right. So basically we need this. And I'm an idiot because we didn't put the proper things in. Right. So I was too busy concentrating on our other two values. Self-taught. Self-taught, but I have been programming professionally for over 25 years. For 25 years. And programming in general for about 45. Something like that. And to be honest, there's not much difference between programming any other stuff and programming games. It's just a matter of solving problems. Right, so basically if you can solve problems, it doesn't really matter, to be fair. Well, I wish you the very best. Oh, I'm going to shoot the deer, aren't I? Right, deer, you're getting it in the ass. Right, so question is, what did we hit? Answer is probably not a sodden lot. Well, we're about to find out. Nothing. Again. It's always to do with the sodding. Right, let's have a look here, right? Now the interesting, right, okay. Right, this is where I get a little bit confused about things. Mañana.
Sí, vamos a estar ahí que la casa de Alma.
Okay. So what we need to do is find out in our DR what the collision's set to. Block all dynamic. Yeah, the problem is ChatGTP just tells me exactly what I was going to do anyway. And you can't really use it to build blueprints because GPT doesn't show you blueprints. All it does is show you code, right? But then you can reverse engineer it from code back into blueprints because the logic's kind of the same anyway. But yeah. So, yeah, I have had a look at ChatGPT. So, we're blocking all dynamic, but for some reason, unbeknownst to me, aye, Cassadell Gaming. Right, let's just try it. Yep, it's the weekend, okay? Right, what I'm going to do is chat GPT and it won't do blueprints, by the way. It just won't. Right. Create Unreal Engine blueprint for inventory system. I'm sorry. To create Unreal blueprints. So as I told you, it won't create blueprints, so your friend isn't using it to create blueprints. Okay. So you might be using it that you can basically ask it to give him an idea of how to do something, and then he could translate that into blueprints, but he's not using it to directly create blueprints, that's for sure. But I knew that already. Anyway. "24 people watching, holy crap." Yeah, they're watching me fail miserably at trying to get this to actually hit a bloody deer. Right? Now, here's the thing, right? I need to use the prediction because my arrow is using velocity. It's not using a line trace. Right? So, I have to use a prediction to predict if I've hit something to then switch on the arrow cam, right? Well, I don't need to Zen Master, that's the point. I can create the blueprints myself, right? It's not a problem. It's just coding in a visual sense, right? And the only reason I started using blueprints was because I was bored after 25 years of writing code, right? So I just wanted to draw nice flow charts and diagrams. So that's why I use blueprints, right? You get kind of fed up. When you're looking at your, all day, basically looking at a screen writing code, the last thing you want to do is come home and write code, right? And it doesn't seem like as much hardship, you know, to just draw pictures and join lines together. That's the reason I do it, right? I've written a game for a 360 in C#, okay? I've written games like years and years ago in Visual Basic, right? I worked with SQL for God knows how long. Basically, well, SQL, yeah. 25 years, right? So, as I said, I've got kind of, I'm not so familiar with C++, but I can do some stuff with it if I need to in Unreal Engine, right? But you only really need to delve into that if you've actually got performance problems, right? So the only way that Unreal trips me up on logic is things like this, where it's not the right collision type or something weird in a setting that kind of screws with you. Yeah, there'll definitely be some things I'll be moving into C++ for this, right? Stuff that's heavy on calculations because nodes aren't so good at that, right? Where you're doing a lot of calculations. Basically, the nodes are adding overhead, right? Whereas if you can do it in one calculation in C++, then that would obviously be much better, right? But there isn't an absolute crap ton in this. So I'm not too worried about it for now. Right, let's try that. We've changed the trace channel to world dynamic. Now I thought the camera would work, right? You skipped wrestling to watch this. Well, at least this is real. In real time, you will see me fail. Right, so we hit that. Now let's see if it actually hit something. No, it didn't, right? And I mean, the thing about it is, interestingly, we might have hit something in the sea, but what I'll do is I'll try and shoot him in the hip. I'll shoot him in the knee like in Skyrim. Right? Now, we should have seen a red thing there, but it didn't. You see, it's not hitting. Right? Which is, of course, bloomin' weird. Now, here's the thing. Let's turn this. Okay. Let's change this to the camera. Right? Now, we know that the camera definitely sees, if you remember rightly, and earlier on when we were doing the line trace to remove the monsters, right, or spawn the monsters, the camera, if we had it on camera, it was definitely hitting that building. Right? So, in theory, if we shoot this building, it should hit it. Right? Now, I have no idea what's going on there and why it didn't hit. We'll do that again. Apparently we hit nothing again. It's drawn us some weird things all over the place. Right? It's not hitting anything at this point. Now, if we fire at that, it didn't hit that either. Right, so that prediction path is just sheer nonsense by the looks of it. Okay. Should I have had that on? Yeah, I believe so. Trace with channel. I am somewhere in Mexico. I don't think we need to go any closer than that, really. Oh, and by the way, I'm here because of work. Right. So did that apparently not hit? Right, okay. Okay. What we're going to do, you see, this is the thing that trips me up, right? It's not the logic, because this logic should work. The problem is what particular settings do I need to switch on and off? Trace with channel. Whether or not to use trace channel if tracing with collision. Right, so we're doing it. Okay. What if I switch this off? Does it just do collisions? Or what does it do? Who knows? Suppose we're about to find out, maybe. So right, so if we shoot at our target, what do we get? Nothing. Right? Now notice that this went the wrong way. But it still didn't hit that door, right? So we shoot the door. No idea what's going on there. That's just basically Bizarro World. Right. So that's basically a load of bollocks, right? So let's say we trace with the camera, right? Now, in theory, we should definitely hit the house, right? Resume that. Right? But that's went the wrong way, apparently. So that suggests, okay, right. Now, this doesn't solve our problem per se. Now, the interesting thing, launch velocity. Right now, the issue here seems to be that our launch velocity needs to be this forward vector with a Z added, right? I'm going to try this. There might be a weird thing going on again. Right, so we're going to add, we know that the blooming bow and arrow is facing the wrong way, right? So it's actually facing 180 degrees the wrong way from forward. So, has this been firing backward all the time? Well, I think we fixed that earlier, but it might be weird on the projected path one. We don't know yet. We're testing it, right? Right. So where are, right, so that's behind me, okay? But still, the problem is, that didn't hit anything. Right? That simply did not hit anything. Which is really blooming annoying. Right, let's try that again. Shoot the deer, right? Now, we should be able to see, yeah, see how that's behind us. It seems to be, do you have a Twitch account? Who? Right. So you can see that I hit it and it dies, right? And that's because the arrow is spawned and fires. Right? So this is all very weird, to be honest, why this ain't working. because in theory, right, I'm going to stop this for now. Right, but if we break this transform, right, our location should be our start point, right? We get the rotation, then the forward vector of the rotation, right? And that should be the launch velocity. Okay? And then I'm going to move this back, right? Then I'm going to take this and put it there. Okay? Then we're going to save that. And apparently, we're going to delete that. Right? And we're going to delete that and that because we don't like it anymore. And then that is going to go there. Right? And this is the second attempt at this I've had that hasn't basically worked. I wouldn't worry about it. Cassadell Gaming. Right. So let's hit the target. Blammy. Print string. Go. Right. BP footstep volume. What? Are you joking? Right, now you'll notice it's behind us. Right. Now the thing is, it did hit something. Right, which wasn't which wasn't nothing. Alright. Now I'm just wondering here. Resume, resume. Apparently we hit nothing. Right, now it is going behind us, of course. So when I actually add I must do minus 10,000. Right. So that thing we had earlier. Right. Hit that side button again. Right. We're going to do that. Okay. And we're getting a bit spaghetti-ish at the moment. And, right, okay. Why are they fading out? Right, so basically we need to break that, right? And basically say minus 180. Okay, and that should be firing forward instead of back, right? Self-taught. Right, so we're going to do that. We'll try that. Right, so we fire that. And we get sod all. It's sodding behind us again. Look at that. What's it doing? This is beginning to annoy the crap out of me. This prediction nonsense. Right. In short, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back for now. And I'm going to struggle on with this, probably off stream, and find out exactly what the issue is. Do a couple of simple tests. Right? In short, Kevin, I learned by doing it. I learned how to do it because basically I was doing a job that I didn't like, right? Which was like a technician in a semiconductor factory. Bye bye for now, Flux in, feed podcast. So on the night shifts, we would have a lot of spare time, and we worked 12-hour shifts, right? And basically, I taught myself Visual Basic and the rudiments of SQL. And strangely enough, I got a job using Oracle. It was Visual Basic 6. It was a research job, right? It was for year 2K. So it was before the year 2K, but we were writing stuff for that, right? And basically what happened was I had never seen and I had never interacted with a database in my life, except for, like, remember the old Access, Microsoft Access, which was part of Office. But I had done some reading and stuff on SQL, so I kind of knew. And luckily enough, our database administrator at the research place, he did most of the Oracle stuff, but that's how I ended up starting on doing SQL. And there is like a There are people that just can't do it, right? When I did a year at college, right, but it was just like further education type stuff. It wasn't computers, it was business information, but we did, like, one of the subjects was computer programming, right, but we only done it like once a week. And basically there was people in there that just couldn't do it, right? They just did not get it. But luckily I was the opposite. I kind of did get it. So yeah, and it's kind of in my family. My father was a programmer as well when computers were the sizes of houses and run on punch cards and stuff like that. So yeah. So as you see, when we actually do the shot under normal circumstances without this prediction nonsense, right, we actually hit the target. The arrow cam kicks in. Just in case anybody's wondering why we're doing what I'm doing, right? I need to predict what I'm going to hit before I hit it. Okay? So I have to fire a prediction shot, then basically come back and say, right, we're going to hit this. And do we show the arrow cam? Okay? Because we don't want to show the arrow cam every time. Like, for example, if I shoot and hit that container, we don't want to show the arrow cam, right? So that's fine. It's not going to hurt you, Cassadell Gaming. It's certainly not going to hurt you. But I think you can learn enough online, right? Because you don't need a whole course in programming to get the fundamentals down to then start doing stuff in Unreal Engine, right? As long as you're getting yourself a reasonably basic understanding, right, of the principles and the basics of programming, then you're probably going to be fine. Because there's a lot of stuff that Unreal Engine does differently anyway, like, for example, data tables and stuff like that, right? That is just completely different. And it's not really like anything else that you're going to use. Right, now that's weird. Well, if you're 17, then why not? Right? It's not going to hurt you to do it. At 17, you've probably got all the time and energy in the world to do it. So, yeah, go for it, man. So you can see here that we're shooting stuff fine. Right? But for some unknown reason, right, you can see here that we shoot the deer dies, which is exactly what we want, and that's all cool. But when we do the prediction thing, it doesn't want to work. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed the stream and the content, hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for links to the game's Discord server and my personal Discord server, also my Patreon and my previous game on Steam, which is called FTD2, and it's only $1, so hardly a 6 AAA game. And we shall be back tomorrow at 2 PM, where I'll still be shouting at this for not working, and we shall see what we are up to. Okay, so thank you guys for watching, thank you for the comments, always interesting to see you guys when you're talking, asking questions and keeping it interesting, and I shall see you all tomorrow. Again, thanks for watching, bye bye for now.